Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gridiron 2023. Dr. Ron Poniewasz, football MD, and Professor Larry Kelly, the teacher of all things football related around Lawrence County, joins us for another fun-filled week of Gridiron. Larry Kelly is a member of the Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly & George law firm, which sponsors our show, and he's also the varsity baseball coach at Shenango High School. Larry Kelly, welcome aboard, sir.
Hey, listen, happy to be here. And you can tell the director of the Groove Ship, the music's getting better every week. I don't have to listen to that elevator music anymore, man. We got a little pep in our step at the beginning of our podcast. That's what I'm talking about. I kind of like it. Gets me fired up and ready to go.
All right. Okay, so this week on the show, we're going to talk about an athlete of the week who delivered in the clutch in a nice win, nice home win. Then we're going to have a topic. It'll be a fun-filled game for Larry Kelly to play.
There you go.
So we'll see if he's up to the challenge of that one. And then our final segment will be the schedule for the week. And just a reminder going into that the schedule starts a little bit earlier this week. We have a Thursday night game. So if you remember, Larry, back like when I was a kid, in the late 70s, early 80s, they would have a special Thursday night edition of NFL football. That was special back then. You know, they only had it once a season, if that. Well, that's what this is like. This is a special Thursday night edition.
That'll be a great game too, I think. So
yeah.
It's playing under the lights. The only game in town, I believe it's the Scotties and the Wildcats, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
And the Wildcats coming off a big win, and you're going to tell me about Colton Fedrizzi. That family has good genes. I can still see his sister Emily knocking down those threes in the playoff run that the Wildcats had to the Whitfield title last year. So tell us about Colton and why he's athlete of the week.
Colton Fedrizzi, a 6'3", 215-pound senior wide receiver linebacker. He had 9 catches for 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 24-19 come from behind home win over Riverside. His touchdown receptions came on passes of 20, 73, and 5 yards, again, in a 24-19 win over Riverside. And, Larry, this is coming from a Shenango team that I think you'd agree would probably prefer to have its success on the ground. And last week, you know, they did a lot of passing last week and to success as well.
And they passed with the first-team quarterback being injured. Sam Patton got injured early in that game and had to leave. And but Sammy Myers came in there and, man, he was slinging it. I actually watched the game on Lawrence County Sportsnet. Great win for the Wildcats. They were down with about a minute and a half to go in the game. And before Sammy Myers ran it in for the 2-yard go-ahead touchdown with less than a minute to go, he threw a great pass to one of my guys, Trey Ross, who made a great catch, contested catch on the sideline to bring the ball down to the 2-yard line, and then Shenango scored on the next play. But Colton Fedrizzi, wow, what a game he had. He was just spectacular, and the Wildcats needed it because it looked for the longest time like, Riverside was controlling the game. Riverside rushed for 304 yards in the game and had a total of 428 total yards. But when it counted the most, the Cats stood tall. There was a pretty bad injury in that game, too. Another one of my guys, Mike Egito, was injured, and they were really concerned about him. And thank the good Lord, he's out of the hospital. He's home now. He's probably not going to play for a little while. He had a neck injury, a head injury. And what they discovered was this kid, who's as tough as nails, was playing with a broken hip that nobody really knew about. So the good news for the Wildcats is looks like Mike Egito is going to recover. While Sam Patton is out with injury, it looks like Sammy Myers is going to be able to handle the quarterbacking duties. And Colton Fedrizzi, just like his sister, stood tall when it counted the most.
Yeah. Colton Fedrizzi now has 12 catches on the year for 202 yards. That was a big win against Riverside. Riverside won last year's matchup, and gives them a good bit of momentum going in. As you mentioned, that we have Shenango Union this coming week. Gives them good momentum for that game, a 2-game winning streak heading into that game.
Big game. It'll be a big game for the Wildcats. And the impressive thing about Colton is he's averaging almost 20 yards a catch, and that's impressive at the high school level. And, he'll need another big game. Union's tough. They got beaten by Cornell last week, and I'm sure they were stung by that. And I think this is the first conference game for both teams, is it not, coming up on Thursday?
Yes, this is the conference lid lifter for both teams.
Yeah, should be a great game. But congratulations, Colton. Great game. He doesn't want his sister to steal all the headlines, and the Wildcat family. That was a great game. Very deserving of Athlete of the Week. But there was a lot of Wildcats that stood tall in that game, and he being the tallest of the Cats that day. Well deserved.
Yes, I echo those, not only those sentiments regarding Colton Fedrizzi, but also the good news that we're hearing on Michael Egito and his injury situation. As you mentioned, he is home and recovering, so that's great news. One step at a time, certainly, and great to hear Michael Egito. Certainly a scary moment on Friday night, but the news continues to get better each and every day.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a really, really tough kid. Great family, good people. And, the Wildcat family really circled the wagons when he got hurt. And, the prayer chains were going up, and it's good news. He's going to recover, and that's always good news. And good news that the Cats pulled out a really, really tough one, and have a great game coming up Thursday night. Should be a great game. Union Shenango, always a great game.
All right. Very good. Colton Fedrizzi is our Athlete of the Week for his 9 receptions for 167 yards and 3 touchdowns. Coming up next, we have another fine game to play with Larry Kelly. It's a fun one, so you won't want to miss it. Stay tuned right here on Gridiron.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gridiron. In this segment here, we will play our latest in a series of games with Larry Kelly, and this one will be called Place Your Bet, Larry Kelly.
Oh, that's right up your alley. Placing your bet is right up your alley.
That's right.
I should be holding up the pictures, and you should be placing the bet. But I think I did pretty good last week in our little game. But let's see how I do this week. You're only as good as your last game. As a player and as a coach, I've learned that. You're only as good as your last game.
That is correct. All right. So, Larry, in this game, I will be the dealer at the blackjack table for, so to speak. You will be the player. I will pick out a school, and what I'll do is I will hold out the logo like that. That is an example of one. So that would be Wilmington. Before we go into this, Larry Kelly, you will have a grand total of 100 fictitious chips that hold no monetary value. I have to explain that to you so you don't come to me in October or November and say, "Cuz you owe me X amount of dollars because I won whatever on our betting game." These are fictitious chips, Larry Kelly. They hold
fictitious.
Yes.
You have for entertainment, just like it used to say on the bottom of the betting sheet, for entertainment only. Entertainment value only.
Yes. So there's 4 schools. You have 100 total chips. So you don't want to blow all 100 on one school because you won't have any chips to play on any of the other games, on other teams. Okay. All right. So first, we will deal you Wilmington. Wilmington is the draw. Okay. Wilmington is 2-1. Wilmington has won many District 10 championships, as we both well know. 13 or 14, whatever the number is, somewhere in that neighborhood. However, Larry, they have not won a District 10 championship since 2020. And that really isn't all that long ago, but when you're talking about Wilmington and the powerhouse that they are, that probably seems like probably as long as the Jets have been since they've been to the Super Bowl. So that's probably how long it feels out at Wilmington. They haven't been to the championship game since 2021 when Farrell defeated them. So, Larry, we're ready for you to put in some chips. Does Wilmington get back to the program's first District 10 championship since 2020. Do they get back to the program's dominant ways this year? Larry Kelly.
All right, Dwight, is the bet whether they get to the championship game or win the championship game?
Yeah. Well, you can look at it either way. How about we go, do they get back to their program's dominant ways? Let's say that, do they get back to the championship game? How about that?
I'll bet 20 chips that they get back to the championship game.
Okay, I'll mark you down for 20 chips.
All right, I got 80 left.
Okay, we're going around the table. Place your bets. No more bets. The bets are in. Larry Kelly is going with 20 chips on Wilmington, a 2-1 team that has proven that really they could be 3-0, Larry. They lost a heartbreaking game to, I believe it was Sharpsville in week 1. Week 0 to a lot of people. It's week 1 to me. 49-42, where they were behind 21 RIF early, right off the get-go, and came right back and took the lead.
This week's going to be a litmus test because they got Hickory, and Hickory's always good.
That's right.
The game's at home at Wilmington, so we're going to know a lot more about the Greyhounds after this week.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, ready for the next one, Larry?
Go ahead.
Neshannock Lancers.
Got them.
Okay, the Neshannock Lancers. Neshannock has made the WPIL playoffs 9 of the 11 seasons that Coach Fred Mazzacco has been at the helm. They've lost a lot of starters from last year's team, including the top 5 ball carriers, as well as the top 2 wide receivers. Larry Kelly, the question is, will they make it to the WPIL playoffs for the 10th time in Mazzacco's 12th year as coach? How many chips are you investing, if you are investing any at all?
Oh, that's lock city. That's lock city. I'll bet 30 on that one. That's a lock.
Okay, going around the table. No more bets. 30 chips on Neshannock to make the WPIL playoffs. It's a fun game, isn't it, Larry?
Yeah, I like it.
When you're betting with nobody's money.
Listen, I'd put my own money on those 2 bets.
Okay. All right. The next one. The Mohawk Warriors. The Mohawk Warriors, Larry, also 2-1, as is Neshannock, as is Wilmington. Mohawk has won all of 3 playoff games in the program's history. Just 3. The last postseason win came in 2021, 34-12 over Chartiers Houston. Larry, do they equal that number this year? And if they do equal that number or beyond, they will win the program's first WPIL championship. Larry, are you betting money, or are you betting your chips on Mohawk to at least equal those 3 program playoff wins?
It's, in other words, 3 this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
3 this year. They got to win 3 this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look, Mohawk's good. They're going to the playoffs, and they're going to win some games. But there's too many things that can happen between now and then to predict 3 wins. You know, Jay Rona gets hurt, it could change the complexion of that team. So I think they're getting to the playoffs. I think if they stay healthy, they're winning games. But I'm only betting 10 chips on them winning 3 of them because we don't know what their health is going to look like, 6-8 games from now. And we're at least 8 games away from playoff time.
Okay. Go around the table. No more bets. Larry Kelly has locked in 10 chips on Mohawk to at least equal the 3 playoff wins or more for Mohawk. All right, Larry, we have one more school.
Just one more. What if I don't bet my whole 100?
Well, then you walk away with fictitious chips. Congratulations.
Yeah, I should have bet more on Neshannock, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I told you we have 4 teams, 100 chips. This is our
okay. All right. Let's give me the 4th team.
All right, near and dear to your heart, sorta. Elwood City, your neck of the hood. All right, Larry, Elwood City Lincoln, 2-1 record. All 4 of these teams were 2-1. Elwood City has not made the WPIL playoffs since 2011. They defeated Freeport that year for its first playoff win since 1987. They lost the next week to Greensburg Central Catholic, 18-15. Does Elwood City break that playoff drought and get to the postseason for the first time since 2011? Larry Kelly, you are working with 40 chips on Elwood City Lincoln.
I'll bet 10 on Elwood City. And if I'm allowed to go back, I'm betting the rest on the Shenango making the playoffs. But it's your game, so you tell me.
I said no more bets.
All right. Well, then I walk away with 30 chips in my pocket. I bet 10 on Elwood City. Listen, they were in another dogfight. On Friday night, they come out a winner against Carlington, sealed the game away in the fourth quarter. Nothing succeeds like success. When you start winning games like that and you start believing in yourself, great things happen. I think as a coach, my philosophy is, early in the year or early in the practice session, I might start breaking, I might start, getting on kids a little bit. But as we get closer to the season, I start telling them how good they are and how good I believe we can be, because I want them to believe. So I think Elwood's starting to believe here.
Okay. We go around the table one final time. No more bets. Larry Kelly is locked in 10 chips. So he's got a nice little stack of 40 chips. So, he could possibly get a couple drinks with that. Who knows? But he's got.
No, I got 30 left. I bet 20 on Wilmington, 30 on Neshannock. That's 50 and 10 and 10. So I got 30 left. And if I could bet my other 30, I'd go back and I'd bet it on Neshannock making the playoffs. I just think their offensive and defensive line is really good. And, once again, I'll say it for the 100th time. You get the right guys blocking, Ronnie, you and I can run the ball.
Yeah.
And their quarterback, who's a young kid, a sophomore, Mazzocco, is another good game. He's had 2 in a row now. So, as he starts to get a little more experience and confidence, they're going to even be better. Okay,
well, we'll make sure that a cocktail waitress comes around. I'll have a Crown and Coke. We'll put that on your 30 chip tab. Feel free to
pick up your tab. Unlike you, who picks up nobody's tab, I got you. Yeah. I got your tab. I got the director of the cruise ships tab too, Pete Sirianni. So the drinks are on me.
We'll just make sure she brings me what I ordered and not the Shirley Temples that you're probably going to order.
I'm not a big drinker, you know that.
All right. Well, Larry Kelly, you have played Place Your Bet, and we will. I'll try and keep this on my desk so we can revisit it at the end.
Absolutely.
But just remember, Elwood, Mohawk, and Neshannock, they all compete in the Midwestern Conference. So these teams are going to be battling against each other for, to win, possibly try to win you some chips, additional chips here, Larry.
3 good football teams who I think as the year goes on might even get better. The key is you have to stay healthy. You have to stay healthy. I'm watching the Jets in Buffalo in the very first series of the game. Aaron Rodgers is out, and they don't know how long he's going to be out for. And, he hasn't played at all after the first series in this game. So you got to stay healthy in football. That's why you have to have depth, and you have to, be lucky enough to have no major injuries.
Yeah. Supposedly they are still chanting JETS, just end the season already in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yeah, 1969, Joe Namath, Beaver Falls.
That's right.
16-7 Jets.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Larry, thank you for playing Place Your Bet. We have one more segment, and we will do that next. It is our schedule segment, so don't go away.
I became an attorney because I believe in hard work, fairness, and human decency. In a word, justice. Our workers' compensation clients deserve justice because in an instant, their hard work turns into hard times when they get hurt on the job. No doubt, life is tough, but so am I. I've been fighting all my life, and I'll keep fighting for you. I'm Joe George, and here in Lawrence County, it's personal.
So we're back with you one final time here on Gridiron this week, and this is our schedule segment. Games of Thursday, that is correct, Thursday, September 14th, and Friday, September 15th. First off, Thursday, September 14th, very well could be the marquee game of the week, regardless of what day you're talking, is Shenango 2-1 at Union 2-1. This game is 6:30 p.m. That also is not incorrect. That is correct. 6:30 p.m. Thursday night at Union High School. Big 7 conference opener for both teams, Larry.
Man, it should be a great game. Shenango, again, they have some injuries. Sam Patton, their starting quarterback's out. Of course, Mike Eggato is out. So they have some injuries. And look, Union, they turned it over 5 times against Cornell, and you can't beat anybody turning it over 5 times. And what was a little unusual about Union, they didn't rush the ball very well against Cornell. They only had 133 net rushing yards. Of course, that's their staple. And so, they didn't run it very well. Coach Nibala said they didn't come ready to play. So they're going to be fired up and ready to go against the Wildcats. But look, Shenango's resilient. They hang tough. Sammy Myers picked up the slack at quarterback. Colton Fedrizzi can play. Trey Ross can play. So, look, I think it'll be a good game. Shenango, they're going to have to play their best game to beat Union, however.
Yeah, I spoke with Jimmy Graham on Sunday night in advance of our weekly previews, the game previews, and he mentioned that he believes Sam Patton's going to be ready to go on Thursday night as quarterback for Shenango.
Well, that would help. Sammy's a tough kid, a great athlete. It's hard to lose your starting quarterback, even though Sammy Myers played really, really well for the Wildcats against Riverside.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Okay, Friday, September 15th. That was your lone Thursday game. These are all Friday, September 15th. They are all 7 p.m. We have 0 games this week on Saturday. First off, West Allegheny 2-1 at Newcastle 0-3. And Larry, we spoke, off air about Newcastle last week. They led 19-8 against Armstrong and had every, visual of the streak, the losing streak ending. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like Armstrong came to play the rest of the way and won that game 49-19.
Yeah, you don't know what happened because, we don't have the statistics. We don't know if turnovers led to the momentum switch or, what happened. But it's just another opportunity for the Red Hurricane to get better. The key is when you're not winning, you still want to get better every week. And if you do that, then, you can be proud of the incremental gains that you make. And good coaches, you may not win, but you're going to get better week in and week out. And those guys at Newcastle coaching the team know what they're doing. So, Newcastle had a chance early. It looks like they're getting better. Let's hope that continues this week.
When I spoke with Stacy Robinson on Sunday regarding the preview, I asked him in reflection of that game against Armstrong, what happened that the game switched the way it did. He said, we were executing early and the rest of the game we weren't executing. So it was just a simple matter of executing.
I don't care what sport you're talking about, whether it be football, and may I say basketball. I know you get mad at me when I talk about that. You have to execute. Execution is the key. And one more time, I'm going to say one of the reasons we were successful at Newcastle in the basketball program is our execution offensively and defensively was impeccable. And the same holds true for football. You need to execute. And if you don't, then plays are going to break down and you're not going to get good results.
Spread the wealth, Larry. Does it work that way for baseball too?
Oh, absolutely it does. You're going to get a bunt down, you better get it down. If you're going to run a hit and run, you better execute. If you're still in second base, you better get a good jump. If you're running a double cut on a ball in the gap, you better do it right. Execution in any sport is key to success.
Coaching Philosophies 101 by Larry Kelly.
Anybody and everybody that has ever coached anything would tell you that.
Right.
It's all about execution.
Okay, next up, this is a non-conference game. Berlin Brothers Valley 3-0 at Laurel, which is 1-2. Berlin Brothers Valley has looked really good this year, outscoring their opponents. I don't have the exact total, but it's about by 100 points total, for the entire season. So Berlin Brothers Valley comes in looking very sharp. Laurel coming off two tough losses to Neshannock, and then last week they had another tough loss, Mohawk, I believe it was.
Well, but they're getting better. They're getting better. That score was 7-6 at the half against a really good Mohawk team. And Laurel started doing what Laurel does, is running the football and eating time off the clock. They're young guys who are gaining experience. They're getting better. And I think if you talk to Coach Cooper, he would agree with that. As I said, it was 7-6 at halftime against an explosive Mohawk team. So I got to believe that Laurel's making progress and that the young guys are growing up. And as the year goes on, they will continue to get better.
Mohawk 2-1 at Riverside 0-2. This is a Midwestern Athletic Conference game. Larry, do you look at this game kind of like last week for Mohawk? Riverside loves to run the ball. If they could, they would run it literally every play. And they are just coming off a game against Laurel, which Laurel, prides itself on the run. Do you think this is another carbon copy opponent for Mohawk?
I do. Billy Hand's an old school coach at Riverside. He understands that to be successful in high school football, you have to run the football, and they do. They ran it for 304 yards against Shenango and held Shenango to 56 yards. So, Riverside is a team that runs the ball and stops the run, which is important in a high school football game. However, last week Shenango passed the ball for, I think, 251 yards. And, Mohawk can sling it all over the gridiron. So, Riverside better be working on their pass defense, because Mohawk could throw it for 500 yards, as we know Jay Rona is capable of doing.
Yeah, Mohawk could have limited possessions, though, is the ultimate point, because Riverside will use ball control. I'm sure they'll bleed the play clock all the way down to 1 or 2 seconds and go from there. So Mohawk's going to have to be real efficient with their possessions in this game.
Yeah, and, Mohawk ran the ball for 154 yards last week, and they, which was a little more balanced than what you normally see from them. And I believe it was Dante Retort got some high praise from the coach after the game, for his effort. He said the guy was just running wild, was the term that I believe Coach McCutcheon used.
Mm-hmm. Western Beaver 1-2 at Neshannock, which is 2-1. This is another Midwestern Athletic Conference game. And the Lancers got back in the win column last week, Larry. Just your thoughts on what you saw from Neshannock or heard from Neshannock?
Well, they run the football, and they run it well. And again, their young quarterback is getting a little bit better every week. Neshannock ran it for 209 yards and, had 388 total yards. They passed it for 89. They're fundamentally sound. And, when you can run the football and control the line of scrimmage, good stuff's going to happen, and that's what they do, and they do it consistently.
Yeah, and that was a big win over Ambridge, I believe, 42-12 at home. All right, Hickory 0-1 in District 10, Region 3, 2A, and 3A. That's a mixture of 2A and 3A teams in that region, and they're 2-1 overall at Wilmington, which is 1-1, 2-1. And as you mentioned earlier in another segment, Larry, this is going to be a big time game for Wilmington.
This is a litmus test game. I believe that because Hickory's good, and Wilmington's good, and they know each other because they play each other every year. And I just think that this is going to tell us, I think, a lot about what kind of season Wilmington will have moving forward. And so let's hope that, they continue the success that they've had the last couple of weeks. And it's a good football team, but this will be a test for them.
Yeah. Freedom 1-2 overall at Elwood City, which is 2-1, another Midwestern Athletic Conference game. And we spoke about Elwood City and where that program's been and where it is now. And they're going in the right direction, Larry. And now they're picking up steam in that right direction.
Nothing succeeds like success. And Elwood is starting to experience some success for the first time in a long time in their program. And again, It was a close game against Carleton last week, and they made big plays in the fourth quarter to get it done. And it's the money time, right? That's the big time, and that's when they did it, when it counted the most. While I'm looking here at the Mohawk game, it was Justin Boston who had the big game for them. In addition to Dante Retort, it was Justin Boston who had the big game on the ground for them. The coach said he ran for 55 yards in the fourth quarter, when they needed to ice the game away. So I wanted to just make sure I got that right. But I like what I see from Elwood City, not only what they're doing, but when they're doing it. When the game's on the line, you got to be able to execute, Ronnie, execute offensively and defensively. And they have been doing that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else, Larry, you'd like to say about the schedule this week with our one Thursday game and several Friday games?
No, I think it's starting to get really interesting. We're in conference play. The preseason's over. I mean, you want to win every game, but you especially want to win the conference games for seeding purposes, for playoff purposes. But these are the teams you play year in and year out, and you don't mind losing to a team from out of town, but especially in the Tri-County, you don't want to. Shenango doesn't want to lose to Union, and Union doesn't want to lose to Shenango. I mean, that's just the way it goes. And so that'll be a great game Thursday night. And as the schedule moves forward, the games only get better.
And as much of a disadvantage it is for both teams playing on a Thursday, a day earlier, and both coaches mentioned, it's just the same for one team as it is another. That's got to be a little bit of an advantage for the next week, almost like maybe take an NFL look at it, a mini bye. You get that extra day to prepare, to rest up and heal up. Plus, you use Friday as a scouting night also.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot. I don't care, again, what the sport is. When you can watch it in person, it's a big advantage for coaches. On basketball, we used to watch it on Huddle. They do the same on football, but sitting in the stands and watching your next opponent, I think, is a big advantage in any sport, including baseball, where we like to watch our opponents and look for their tendencies. Every team, every coach has tendencies, and a good coach, if he's able to scout a team, will be able to pick them up and have his team prepared for them.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about Shenango as far as playing any more Thursday games, but in several weeks, Union will play another Thursday game at Summit Academy, of all places. And I get it that they want teams to play either Thursday or Saturday games to offset the official shortage, but you've already got a built-in Saturday game at Summit Academy, and you're moving it to Thursday, which really makes it hard for the kids, taking them out of school. Parents are working, and now you're talking about, are you going to be able to take the day off of work? And it's already on a Saturday. Why does that game need moved? I'm sure there's got to be some reason, officials related, but it's already there. It's already on a Saturday. That's going to be really tough for Union that week, and that's a 12:30.
I don't know why they did that, but you got to play them when they schedule them, and but it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, Union can't look that far ahead. They've got a really tough Shenango team in front of them. Larry Kelly, I appreciate you joining me. Enjoy the remainder of your Florida vacation, my friend.
Thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate it. Have a great week. See you next week.
He's got Mai Tais on his mind. He's going to be having a few of those before night time for sure, everyone.
Maybe a Shirley Temple.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Larry Kelly, for joining us. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniewasz. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Enjoy the games this week, and we'll see you back here next week on Gridiron.